Hey, happy Friday, everybody. It's the last word, and it is the last word of 2024. Christy, Jodi, KP, great to see you all.
Great to see you too. And just as a warning, if I get up and leave, I'm waiting on a delivery that requires a signature. So
Those are
we
fun
might
deliveries.
the last word of the season.
Yeah,
Well, and
AKA alcohol.
I think it's important to note that Jodi does not have a background, that is her actual house. Because I was like, oh, I need a background like that. That's her actual house.
I'm at the farm.
Same with KP. It's his actual house too.
Except we can't see it.
I'm very sensitive to light.
Right.
KP the vampire.
So, guys, we normally, whatever normal is, by the way, I don't even know what that means. Normally, we'll trade some notes during the week on kind of what we want to talk about. But I think we agreed last week that we were going to extend today's conversation. So we normally do this in 30 minutes. This will go somewhere past 30 minutes, probably. No guarantees on how much further. And we really just want to talk about kind of what we saw, collectively in 2024, maybe a little bit of a recap, and then do our best to share what we're looking at, from our individual and collective seats for 2025. So, and I'm still, I have limited capacity with this voice. Today is much better. Yesterday, if I'd have come on, you guys would have thought RFK Jr. was talking to you. So it's improving, but still challenging for me.
We'll try to take over for you when we see the cough starting to come on. Hope you feel better. So I actually took some notes because I was thinking about the year in review, and I'm sure that KP will have some economic numbers and CPI data that he's taken notes and is ready to share. But mostly what we've seen in no particular order. Rising rate environment and economic fluctuation. I tell people I'm about 18 months into being a recovering lender, and I'm very thankful that I did not have to lead a IMB through this past year with all of the changes because of rising rates and the flux in the economy. We've continued to see tech adoption and digital transformation, increased focus on the first-time home buyers and affordability. And I think that there has been a tremendous amount of emphasis that we haven't seen in prior years from an affordability perspective is the environmental impact of natural disaster that's having on insurance costs that is really pricing a lot of first-time home buyers out of the market. And also the lack of inventory causing housing prices to continue to rise. I do also have seen people getting back to the basics and really focusing on the consumer experience. And I always layer in consumer experience with the loan officer experience. That's something that Christy and her team and I have worked on over the past year, and really driving that it's no longer the expectation, the bar is so much higher than it has been in the past for that consumer experience, and in Christy's case, the member experience. We've seen a lot of consolidation in the market through acquisition. And then one of the things that I am most thankful for in 2024 as a year in review is not only this show, but we gained this year the marketing minute. So Christmas, if you haven't seen it, and it typically comes out after we do the last word, and we don't see it before, but today it came out earlier than normal. So if you haven't seen it, you got to see the Market Minute by Mike Metz or Crispin Commentary, because it all rhymes. And it's all related to 2024 in review. So it was awesome. So, and happy to have gained that. So, what do you guys have from like the 2024 in review before we jump to what we're looking for in 2025?
Let me start real quick, because this is fresh off of a call I came off of earlier this morning with our team. We did our monthly all hands, which turned out to be our last word at FinLocker as well. And one of the things we like to do, it's sometimes difficult to do, is reflect on where we ended the year versus where we started, right? And so Andrea Thomas, who leads our product team, she put up a visual slide on the screen for the team, and it was our product priority roadmap for 2024 at last December's year-end all hands, if you will. And then she did a kind of a compare to the current roadmap. And what was really refreshing to see was how much stuff we actually got done on the roadmap from last December 2023, but also in a reflection of the discipline of the team. And I share this because I think every company and every team should maybe go through this analysis. We still have a lot of stuff on our current roadmap that was on the roadmap last year. And if you just looked at it and compared it side by side, you might say, well, gee, FinLocker, you didn't get a lot done. That's not the case. What we've done and what we continue to do is adapt the roadmap to market, client feedback, and consumer experience. And there were things that came up, as early as January that trumped things that were in our roadmap, right? And so we go through this pretty rigorous product process where we prioritize the items on the roadmap based on all those things I mentioned, plus revenue, because that's important, especially for a small company. And from our seat, a small counterparty like FinLocker, we had somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 releases, maybe a little bit more, because when we release web and mobile, and then a whole crazy litany of new product enhancement. Obviously, with technology, there's always bug fixes and things you have to adjust. But what I took away from the session this morning was that it's as important as it is to maybe recognize and applaud your accomplishments. It's really important to recognize and applaud your process. Mm-hmm. And if you can't do that, then you need to reassess or perhaps put in a process. And so I encourage anybody that's checking in on the show, either live or on replay, that you think about, doing your own year-end recap, but do it in a way that actually compares to a prior period, right? Like what did 2024 look like from a priority and accomplishment perspective compared to what you thought it was going to look like in your business planning process?
Awesome. And lesson to be learned by all other small tech startups out there about listening to your customer and what's going on in the market and be nimble and able to pivot.
Those are very important things. And I think, Jodi, you really nailed it with talking about what did this year bring that was unexpected, besides the obvious of the rising rate environment in a much different fashion than really most people in the business today have experienced. That you can think about the fact that you can have been in the business for over 10 years. You can be a teenager in this business and not have been through the financial crisis.
Yeah.
Right? You got in after that. And so for a lot of folks in our industry who are seasoned quality professionals, this is the first of this type of market, and boy, what a booger bear it was for folks to deal with it. And even many folks that are in leadership, this is the first time they've been through a market like this. And you can't just dust off the playbooks from the past. The consumer expectation, in our case, Jodi, as you noted, the member expectation is very different. And I've been so proud of our team as they have really transformed. I look over the last year, and Brian, we did a similar process to what you did. We look and say, what did we say that we were going to do? What did we actually do? And in our case, we do still have a few things that are going to carry over to next year, but I think we actually accomplished more than we said we were going to do. And really impressive the way the team just got that flywheel spinning and really started to make changes to better the experience of everybody involved, from internal teammates to our members to our referral partners. We wanted to make it better. And that's going to continue on through next year. I don't think the pressure is going to lessen up. I know we've seen a number of folks decide to get out of the business. I don't think we've seen this big of an exit in any time that I've been in the industry. And it looks different and it feels different for a lot of our teammates. They're approaching the business differently. The external pressures that we face are different. And I don't see those easing up over the coming year. What I do see changed is the fact that we have so much optimism with the folks that have made it through the other side and are committed to, this is the space, this is the industry that I want to be in. And yes, I know it's going to be a challenging market next year. We're not going to get a bunch of rate cuts early on, and rates aren't going back to 5% or 3%, by March for the spring buying season. But people are very optimistic about the work that they can do and what they can do for the people that they serve.
Christy, are you channeling your inner KP and podcasting while driving?
I am doing the KP thing.
Hey, see, if you had some Tesla AI, you wouldn't even have to worry.
Well,
But you,
I got a human driver.
Yeah,
it's even better. I think I know that stud. And I'll be in Austin tomorrow for the Clemson game. So Pat Green is at that same venue where we saw Spoon last time played before the game. So if you're gonna make it down there,
no, I'm headed to Georgia. We're on our way to Georgia. We're gonna be at the beach for the holiday season.
Well, I'll yell 3 times over.
Okay.
I think what's interesting is that I did my LinkedIn video last night from a boat parade and drone show, and my father-in-law and my wife's oldest brother are in town from Detroit. Shout out to BV and the Detroit Boxing Gym. I ran into a guy that's a loan officer, and he goes, "Man, I just had my best month ever. I made $30,000 last month." And it's November, right? It's not the best month seasonally, and the reason why September, October, November were really good is because rates were low. I mean, they got really low all the way up to that first 50 basis point Fed rate cut. And so I'll just kind of speak on the rate environment. We transact in high frequency, or we try to. We're all going for the mythical 7-day inter-sales contract to funding on a finance operation, and of course, sales contracts are written typically for 30 days. And the NAR settlement didn't really impact the sellers paying for buyer's commission so far. So I haven't really seen that come down at all. I've been asking over and over and over, and everyone's like, "Yep, business as usual." So that was a big talking point in 24. But getting back to rates, these things, they move in waves, and they're long waves, right? So when the Fed on Wednesday, Chair Powell came out and said, "Hey, we think inflation is going to get to 2%, but not until 2026, which I love that he said that. So maybe everyone could just shut up on LinkedIn about this made up 2% target, because the Fed said they're not going to get there, and they're still going to cut. So, it's not 2% or we messed up. That's just not how the flow of money works. I mean, we sell treasuries, and in our business, we buy and sell money. That's it. We buy and sell money in the form of mortgage-backed securities. I know we build relationships, and it's fun putting keys in someone's hand today so they can be in their new house for Christmas. I love that stuff too. I mean, look at all the damn presents we got here for our 4 kids and all the families. But these things, they don't run in the time frame that we want. They don't move at the speed of business. Our interest rates and the flow of money and what the Fed does is a long game. And so we just got to roll with it and not let it, mess us up emotionally. I mean, just to remind everyone, we're recapping 2024. Q1, we saw a spike in inflation and rates went up. And then inflation started coming down in Q2 and Q3. And for 6 months, we had insane volume and records compared to probably what we thought. And with more than half the loan originators out of the business, and we're about to get all of our numbers here, for those that didn't renew again, there's a lot of people leaving. This slow burn is a good thing, because if you can't cut it, you're going to get out. And those of us left, are going to reap the benefits, because our business has always been, even with all the investments we've made in tech and trying to speed the process up and the frequency of everything, it's still, a capacity model. And so if there are less loan originators and rates come down, those of us left, it will feel busier, and it will actually be busier. And that also brings profit to us, the independent mortgage bankers. And so we may have a little bit of a hiccup here for a quarter, maybe not. PCE came out today and it was less than expected. So you think the Fed didn't have the PCE numbers 2 days ago or 3 days ago? Of course they did. And, and so we have, another set of inflation reads and a whole bunch of jobs data coming out before the next meeting at the end of January, which they're likely to pause, as they said they would. And they said they're going to do 2 cuts in 25 and 25 basis points each instead of 4. And that's okay. It just, the comps that are being replaced in the PCE and CPI in January, February, and March are very high. So if we keep even the pace that we're on, 0.2-ish, 0.27, 0.24 every month, inflation is going to come down. And we, and labor is weak. Despite what everyone thinks, people are leaving the workforce. Just last month alone, over 350,000 people gave up trying to find a job, so they don't get counted in, the jobs report. And so labor is softening, and it gets really soft after the Q4 spending season in our economy, which is 70% consumer based, which, by the way, we just had a 3.1% Q3 GDP second read, and Q4 is looking to be at 3.2. So we have a growing economy, slowly softening inflation, slowly softening labor, and that means slowly trending down rates. And you can look at your rate sheet today. It's much better than yesterday. So just play the long game, start gearing up, get ready for spring purchase season. It's going to be busy. It's a big year for purchase business, and that turns into refi business later.
Maybe poking another layer into this as we recap 2024. I think a lot of us expected, of course we expected what you pointed out, KP, the absolute lower number of individual loan originators, and that's going to continue to kind of flush itself out. I think we all expected to see a lot more M&A activity get to the closing line. I know there's still a lot of activity out there, but relatively speaking, given the market and what we expected, and really this has been a decades-long kind of expectation, I think we thought there'd be a lot more, but there was some significant activity on the M&A side this year, and that causes a little bit of angst for the originator themselves, right? The frontline originator. And one thing I want to just share in another thread that I'm involved in, there was a call to action asking for CMBs to volunteer to teach upcoming School of Mortgage Banking classes, and somebody who's an originator replied and said something to the effect, I'm just an originator, not sure, something to the effect, not sure how qualified I am. And that set off a whole thread of communications. Christy, I know you saw it. And I've been thinking about this a lot in the last few months, that this just an originator mentality, even if it's me as the originator that has that, is so wrong. I mean, think about our business. Without originators, we don't have a business. There is no business. Nothing happens in our business until somebody sells something. And so for all of you just an originator out there, it doesn't exist. That's not the case. You are literally the frontline lifeblood of our industry, and you, more than anybody else, represent our industry to consumers at large. And I think all of us, no matter where we sit in the ecosystem, need to really love on our frontline salespeople, because imagine if they weren't as resilient as they've been, especially our top producers, where each of our businesses would be. And so just little little public service announcement for all of our originator friends out there.
Can we do snake order draft? Like I just got done speaking. Let me go back to Christy and Jodi. RIP to all three of my fantasy football teams not in the playoffs. I used to do 4 leagues, and then I had 4 kids, and now I'm into 3 leagues, and I still suck. It's just hard to keep up. And also shout out to UFCU, where Christy works and Jodi consults with. I could have wrote a deposit check and gone to this local bank and made a transfer. And I just said, I'll do a wire. And her team over there, Mindy, called me this morning. And, I love the service that the members get. I'll adjust both those things. I sat in a room in Philadelphia at the NBA with Dr. Sandra Thompson, the director of the FHFA. And, I explained that, originators teach financial literacy at scale. I mean, they're the ones that originator that said that is an expert. You could be a month on the job as a brand new originator and you know more than most consumers. And so you are a teacher. You are teaching financial literacy. You are the expert. And so Dave Savage sent me a Home IQ report talking about all the ambassadors, teaching classes and helping, thousands of borrowers. And they have a goal to help 10,000 consumers this year. So I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, originators do teach financial literacy at scale. They are the teacher. And so as it relates to M&A activity, I always hear around this time of year, like all the buzz starts getting out, all the groups start talking about it, and they start, because they want to drum up, the conversation. And it's mostly a bunch of hoopla. But I will say this year was pretty active for M&A. And I think with that slower burn of lower trending rates and, down 2 quarters, up a quarter, down a quarter or 2, that is actually hurting smaller IMBs. So, we have a saying at PRMG, we say we're all in, and, our CEO is all in. The 4 of us that own the company, we're all in. And I know there's a lot of other independent mortgage bank operators and of course, mortgage unit operators at depositories that are all in as well. And by the way, shout out, hope to see more IMB C-level executives in Austin for the MBA. It's going to be a really good event. And of course, the Crispin commentary. I'm sure Rob will be there. He's on the road. That guy's a road warrior. Robbie's doing all the beast work for the show. But I think some smaller IMBs are going to throw their hands up again in this first quarter because it's just grind, and some people are like, it's not worth it. It's just not worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And some people are going to give up. So I do think there'll be some more M&A activity in 2025 because some people aren't all in. And it's hard. What we do is hard. It's emotionally taxing. 18 months later, and Jodi's still talking about being a recovering lender. So the neural pathways that she created are never going to go away. You guys know I personally coach with Rewire and Steve Scanlon. You can be a recovering smoker and it's been 30 years since you've had a cigarette. You could pick one up and it just reignites those neural pathways in your brain immediately. And so that's why, substance abusers, really just stay away from it. And so, for those of us that are all in, we've created neural pathways in this business and some of us, are tired of it and they want to give up this abusive relationship and they want to get out. So I do think M&A activity is going to pick up.
I completely agree with that. And from the point, kind of a transition almost into what 2025 looks like. And when you talk about, loan officers at the forefront, borrowers more and more want to have the transparency and the financial literacy and seek deep understanding of the mortgage process that we haven't seen before. It's been like, okay, I trust you, let's go, just get my loan closed. And today they want to have a deeper understanding of the process that they're going through. And also because we have seen a decrease in the number of loan officers and the exits, those that are left really are our educators for the future and will continue to, those that are able to give small pieces of information that leads to financial well-being of their clients are going to be tremendously successful. And it doesn't take a lot of time to educate yourself so that you can then in turn educate the buyer. So I think it's definitely we're going to see more education really coming into play more and more over the years. And that's the part that, as we look at automation and AI, that is not replaceable. And that is the human touch, and that is the human education that we provide our clients. And also, from our perspectives, those that we lead in guiding our employees, through crazy markets and helping them have an understanding, and also giving them the positivity and the forethought and the vision so that they stay engaged and continue through the process and through the grind. But from the merger and acquisition piece, if you didn't go through 2006, 7, 8, and you are a newer company you weren't forced out, then I think that it seems like too daunting of a concept to overcome with the struggles that we've faced over the last couple of years in the industry.
You guys are spot on. I do think we're going to see some more, but I also think, we as an industry have a little bit of an aging problem. The ownership of a lot of IMBs, not KP and his team over there. Those are young guys, but you do have some owners that have been in the business for a long period of time, and many of them are all in and have good succession plans, but many do not. And I think that at some point you're going to start to see some of these guys say, hey, what does life look like as a recovering lender? What does it look like to work less? And they're out there exploring people are out exploring options. You hear it at cocktail parties. You hear it just in the industry in general. And so I do think you're going to see some more of that. And I think there's some strategic things that can make sense for people as we think about the investment in technology that needs to be made. It is not, when I opened my IMB, when I first got in the business, you needed a place to work and maybe a couple of computers, and it wasn't a huge investment that it is today. And it continues to get more so as we look at the cost of tech, the type of tech that you have to have in order to be efficient from an operational standpoint, in order to deliver the right experience on the front end. And for a lot of reasons, like we saw a merger in the credit union space, and one of the things that was said about why this merger took place was it was the technology investment that they needed to make in order to be the company they wanted to be. They needed to combine forces in order to have those investments pay off in the way that they really wanted to, and it made economic sense. And so I think that that's going to continue to be a theme that we see this coming year. As people look at some of the new tech that's come out, they look at how they actually operate and make the widgets on the back end. And that gets expensive. It's the right choice to make. You can't think you're going to continue to operate in this business and use the playbook that we used pre-COVID.
Yeah, what do they say? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over. You ladies did a perfect segue, and Jodi even said AI. So I gave her a pass for not knowing what I meant by snake order draft. But
I had no idea.
Yeah. So it goes Brian, Jodi, Christy, me, then me, Christy, Jodi, Brian. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Christy.
Yeah. No, but you actually teed up the perfect segue because Jodi and Christy and Brian are all very well regarded in our industry as technologists and technology thought leaders. And so let's talk about AI for a second. It's not some mythical thing, right? Like people first heard about it about 2 years ago when ChatGPT burst on the scenes. And like literally overnight, I saw some tech vendors throwing AI and like their monikers, and I'm like, your tech didn't change overnight. ChatGPT just came out. Shut up, But Google bought DeepMind in 2014. 2014, over 10 years ago. AI is here, and I have seen some really good tech right now, today, that uses AI to do our jobs. And so you need to think about how you're going to implement AI into your ecosystem. It is a layer that will be in every business, like electricity the internet, smartphones, color TV, and air conditioning at your office. It is going to be in everything. So how are you going to implement it? And what is your roadmap and your thinking? So as you game plan for 2025, you need to have an AI vision. And, Jodi, a plug for her and her team, she's a thought leader. If you don't have that visionary at your company, hire her. She can go out there and help you do that. And what I'll say is, AI is very good. And I'll just leave it at this. AI will not replace jobs. It will replace jobs for people that don't learn how to use AI on their job. So that is the mantra to take back is, and every single person, whether an originator, a realtor, a C-level executive at any of our shops, both, real estate companies and lenders, you can start implementing just a little bit at a time, just one incremental change, implement something, change something. It's not too late. Yes. If you look at the whole thing, it's like an elephant, but how do you eat elephant, right? One bite at a time. Just implement one thing. Just enhance or tweak this one thing or that one thing, and then work on the next project. Drive adoption, drive your training. It is not too late. And that's a big focus for, it is a tech show for the Mortgage Innovator Conference coming up here in Huntington Beach in May that the California MBA is putting on. There is definitely also a tech part of the IMB show for MBA. And come out of your shell if you're a C-level executive or even a burgeoning broker to non-delegated correspondent and you're trying to grow your business to the next level. Come figure out what's working and what is being implemented. Because I will say, if you do the same thing over and over, like Christy was kind of referring to as a strategy, you will get left behind. There are some humongous lenders out there that have been investing in tech and engineering and development for years. And there's a reason why they're number 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5. Those lenders are awesome at implementing tech, but you don't have to do it on that level. You can have guerrilla tactics and go, I got this little niche here, or I could do this thing there. And you can get some wins, drive some costs down, create efficiency, get more deals, create a better consumer experience like FinLocker. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but you just got to do something new.
I was just going to say, go ahead, Brian.
Just real quick, the 2 words in that whole thing are do something.
Yeah.
Execute.
And what I was going to say is Christy's, her team calls their project management flywheel. And her team has done an amazing job, and they just started. And I think if we stop referring to things as AI and just refer to it as automation, then people are less scared. And I always say, if you want someone to do it for them, right? Like the pieces that we can do for people, do it for them. But when you take the first step to do a small incremental thing, maybe it's just that you do automated ordering for verification services, your verification of income and employment. And then that leads your team to start thinking about, okay, now what can we do? And they're like, well, this didn't take away my job. This enhanced my job so that I can do more. So what else can we do? So it also helps in the change management process. And then the whole flywheel gets going. And then you're just then layering on automation after automation. And it's giving people more time for the pieces that they didn't have time for before that we can't replace with automation. So yeah, it's like do something, and then the flywheel starts turning, and we start making huge impacts on our business and driving down cost and increasing efficiency.
Amen.
So are we ready to close the book on 2024 and start looking ahead to 2025, guys?
I think we better.
Yeah,
we've been doing that a little bit here. We've been sneaking in some 2025 stuff as well.
Some predictions,
things people should be thinking about in terms of business strategy. It's what we're a no script show, so we could go wherever we want, KP.
Yeah, let's do it. And if there's anything anybody wants to know about in the chat, throw it in there.
Good point. There's a couple things. I hate coming back to the show after we've done it and see questions that we didn't address. So We lost Christy. Hopefully that's not a bad sign. So Michael Zhao asked or commented when we were talking about the importance of loan originators being the point of the spear in terms of financial literacy. His point was, KP, if originators are the teachers of financial literacy, the level of education is currently decreasing. Understanding RESPA, fair housing, and compliance is way different from investing and spending. So I've got a couple thoughts there, but KP, he addressed it to you. No, I'm gonna put you on the spot first.
All right, Christy, can you go on mute when you're not talking? You're in a wind tunnel. You're the best. Hopefully we didn't lose Christy. I am actually just reading the chat. So Michael, let me just say this. You're probably top 1% when it comes to knowledge. And so, don't think of it just from your perspective, because I respectfully disagree. I think that originators are very good at educating borrowers in mass. Borrowers don't know anything, and the sure is not. I mean, I don't think you need to get into RESPA and fair housing and all that kind of stuff when you talk to a borrower trying to do a loan. You do bring up some good points about what people don't know. But, we have so many different kinds of salespeople in our business that originate. Some of them are very, big personalities and are very personal. Some of them very technical. Gosh, my favorite type of salesperson, originator, is always a female that has come from ops, understands technically how the entire process works, and then has the guts to come out and find their voice and go sell. When every single, new month starts, your paycheck is zero. So when I see someone make a leap from operations to sales, and especially, if it's all of our President's Cabinet winners, like more than half are like high-powered women. And a lot of them made that jump from ops into sales. I love that because they understand all the details like Michael's referring to, because they did the behind the scenes work and then jumped into sales. I'm not saying that's the blueprint for success, because we all have our origin stories. But the point is, all sales is communicating. And what's cool about our business is, like, you're not like, I'm going to make you take this $800,000 loan and stuff it down your throat. That's just not our business. And so sales gets a bad rap, especially from people who come from the technology side, Bay Area, New York, or however they're educated. They think salespeople are the gym membership, vacuum cleaner, mattress salesperson. And that's just not the case. Originators in our business are explaining to people the largest purchase in their life and how they manage their finances and their debt. And, some of it's basic math, but some of it's also connecting to them at a personal and in a better situation, on a more local level. And so I think that is where the education comes in. And so, I do think originators do a good job of that. Of course, everyone can do better. And that's part of investing in yourself and your knowledge going into next year, is just get better at your craft. Be better at your pitch, or what you talk about, or shortening the conversation to be more impactful. I mean, heaven forbid, there's still people that like take the loan application over the phone, line by line, with their borrower. Like, what a waste of time, right? Like, I got news for you. Like, the younger first-time home buyers, they don't want to do that. Send them a link, have them fill out as much as possible without you, set up a time to get back on the call, and then have already read. Imagine, like, just for example, how many dependents do you have, Mr. Peranio? Oh, I have 4. What are their ages? 5, 7, 9, 11. Or they send me a link. I write that out. The LO reads it. The originator said, KP, I see you have 4 kids. Wow. Are you looking for a new school? So I didn't have to sit there and like discover on the fly and waste that time. I knew ahead of time, and I saved their time and my time. And so, there's still people that take applications by hand, and, it works if you're just doing a couple loans a month, I guess. But that's not really deepening that relationship. You're spending time doing something that is just clerical. It could be done with a link. And so I will challenge people to get off of paper applications over the phone. for one. Then you can spend more time educating them, asking, why are you moving? What are you doing? Are you looking for a new school? What's wrong with the place you live? Do you have a realtor? I do. Let me refer you to them. Let's find you that good neighborhood and that good school. Okay, you can't afford the one you want. Here's one that I know of that's a little bit out, away from where you're looking, but it's within your budget because I've already looked at your app before we got on the phone, as opposed to being on the phone and asking them their debt. Then you're sitting there going through their income. And like, you could do all this stuff ahead of time and have a meaningful conversation and less of a waste of time. Christy, you're back. Let's get you.
So apparently every time somebody calls me, it kicks me off. So apologies.
Do you have an Apple?
Yes.
Score one for the Android crew. Let's go.
Don't.
I thought that I thought they were just like at a rest stop, a random place. I don't even know how you get from Texas to Georgia. Like, where are you in the country?
They're meeting Seabass at 2 p.m.
We're in Mississippi right now. We got up early and left, and so we drove north almost to Dallas, and then started cutting across and got through Louisiana, through that part of the world, and now we're into Mississippi.
So speaking of automation, there's this thing called an airplane.
Okay. And I love my four-legged friend who's 18. Aww. And she just doesn't fly well. So because we're going for a couple of weeks, we are making the personal sacrifice to not fly in the airplane and take the doggy with us.
Yeah.
Did you know Mississippi is the poorest state in America, and the standard of living in Mississippi is higher than every other G7 nation? So, shout out to America. It's a great place to be.
That's good knowledge.
Random, useless.
Speaking of knowledge, speaking of data, also in 2025, I think that we're going to finally see people making more data-driven decisions, whether that be our clients or even lenders in operating their business. We as lenders for so long have operated on gut, and you can't operate on gut anymore. You have to have data, have access to data to be able to make informed decisions about your business. And if you don't, you're not going to be successful. You're going to be one of the ones that you're either getting your doors closed or you are being acquired, because you can't go on gut feeling. And it's not a great business practice, but it's even worse in the type of environment that we're currently in, and as we move forward, because those that are using data to make decisions are forging ahead at a much faster pace than those who are not. And that's true whether you're talking about lenders or you're talking about technology companies and vendors. You have got to be able to have access to data to make decisions, and your gut won't cut it. Use your gut for the taste of good food, not for business decisions.
I'll also say, you brought up a point about saying AI earlier, and I think when people say data, people have had the same kind of reaction, right? And so, it's like, what do you mean data? Like, what am I supposed to do with my data? But everything we write down is a piece of data. Every field, whether it's Encompass or whatever system we use in all of our systems, is a data field. And so, if there are any IMBs that are listening and you don't have a data warehouse, that's a very big basic step that you should take. I would do it as fast as possible. Pull all of your quote data and put it into a centralized place. And I know our companies already do that, but for our young and upcoming IMBs, that it's so important. Take your payroll, your HR, your finance, your Encompass, your loan level, your point of sale, your CRM. You put it all into a separate place that you and your technology team can then pull out of and combine. You can have a report that says how many touches a processor has per file, how much that per touch cost is based on that individual's salary and how much they work. And ranking those kinds of things is very eye-opening. You'll have some aha moments where you're like, wow, I thought this was my best, processor or my top producing originator, but man, they cost a lot of money with all this marketing budget they spend. And so, I need to drill down on that. And so that's a real life, use case of harnessing your data. And it sounds so simple, but there are a lot of up and coming IMBs that don't have a data warehouse. And it's just an absolute must. You need a data warehouse. That's all there is to it. And so you combine all those things, and you get a BI tool, and a business intelligence tool, and create some custom reports based off whatever data you collect. And I'm telling you, it's inspect what you expect. You expect processors and originators to be profitable. They might not be. You may be shocked, right? So anyway, I think that's a really good point, and I'm trying to kind of give a little personal touch and use cases of how data helps you in your business.
I think the other thing you've got to do with your data is you have to know what you're comparing it to, because just looking at it, it's not going to help you necessarily make better decisions. So what are you benchmarking against? And where are you getting your benchmark data? And then there's several places within the industry that you can get it to. One of my personal favorites is the Strathmore PGR that they do in partnership with MBA. And getting that data and just looking at it and knowing, and it may not be 100% right. I know they put a lot of work into making it as accurate as possible, but there's still data definitions and different things that happen. So it doesn't matter even if you believe the data or you believe it's 100% accurate, it's good enough. 80% is good enough to make some decisions from. You don't have to go strive for perfection. So take that benchmark data and understand kind of where the market is, decide from your business model and how you want to operate, where you want to be in that range, and then check your own data to see if you actually are at that place. And if not, what are you going to do to get there? And that's how I think that data needs to be used to make those decisions, so that you're not just going from your gut and going, yeah, I think we're best in class, or I think we're pretty good at this piece of the business. Well, how do you know unless you're comparing it against those that really are best in class?
It's speaking of data, my good buddy Martin Warren, who I was with last night, he's one of the owners of Nations Direct, and he just sent me a good piece of data. He's listening, and so listen to this. So licensed loan officers from 2021 until now, right? 420,000, 22, 395,000, 23, 343,000 through October of this year, 150,000. As of the latest renewal for 25, only 93,000 have reapplied. Pretty crazy. I haven't fact checked that. I saw that stat the other day. I think I saw it from Martin. But you're right, Christy. Like, as a former Ironman triathlete, I just compared to myself, because there's no way I was going to compare it to the people who are, qualifying for Kona. Those guys are insane. Ladies are insane. We're a team sport. And so, whether it's PGR data through MBA and Strathmore or other different places, you can compare yourselves to other teams. How are you doing? What is your cost per loan? And, what are you focusing on as a business? And again, just small bites at a time.
All right, guys, we're at the home stretch. So we just talked a lot about data, and I agree. I think that's going to be it should be a massive place of focus for folks going into 2025. What are one or two additional things that you all kind of see on the immediate roadmap that maybe wasn't there a couple months ago that is got you excited for 2025? Jodi, we'll let you go first.
Yeah, I think like the most exciting thing for me in 2025 is partnerships. And we've done a lot of work with tech startups and tech companies in 2024, and have been really pushing to position as matchmakers and putting the pieces together for lenders from a technology perspective, and really looking to 2025 for more and more vendors to collaborate and solve problems for mortgage lenders behind the scenes. And we've seen a willingness not seen before, of people willing to come together that sometimes are competitors in some areas to come together to solve problems for lenders. So I'm really excited about that in 2025 and really pushing that forward. I think that it's going to be a great year. We just have to look to be optimistic and look for the wins, and they are going to be small. There aren't going to be massive wins in 2025, but celebrate the small wins and learn from the failures, and you'll be successful.
Yeah, I'd say just anecdotally to the partnership comment, in the last 4 to 6 weeks, we've had very interesting conversations with 3 pretty big logos, not going to name them here, who in the past I would have said they're a build, versus buy shop, blah, 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 blah. And the conversations have been all about partnership. How do we being the brand leverage the work FinLocker's done in this area and incorporate that into our experience? So I agree. It feels like there's a lot more willingness to partner, and I think it's probably part of it's a byproduct somewhat of a difficult extended market, right? So if I can accelerate my plan, my growth through a partnership versus kind of putting all the investment dollars into it, that seems like the right way to go. And to your point, Jodi, we're having a lot of kind of vendor to vendor conversations as well, as how do we bring the best of our products and services and solutions together to ultimately do better for our collective lender clients.
Yep. Awesome.
Christy, what you got?
I am most excited about the people. I think that the people that are left in our industry are the true dedicated professionals that show up every day because they want to make a difference in people's lives. They want to help them build their financials. A testimonial that comes in, every month we pick the kind of the best one. And this most recent time, Terry made a wonderful story time talking about all the different testimonials, and she made it to to like a book and a poem. It was really cute. But the previous time, we actually listened to a call from a man who called in to talk about his son and the change in his life of getting and being able to purchase a home and what that created for financial stability, hope for the future, and optimism towards building wealth in his life. That's what we get to show up and do every day. And the people that are left in the industry, I'm going to assume KP's numbers are right, and we've got 90,000 people out of 400,000 left. These are the best of the best people, and they're going to make it a great year next year.
Amen. And that's why I think the level of education from the originators is actually improving, because people who aren't good at it are getting out in mass. So I get the last word on the last word. This is awesome.
We'll see about that.
Shout out to Pedialyte or whatever it is you're drinking, BV, to keep you powering through COVID. Well, I'll just say that purchase money is on the rise in 25, and overall business is on the rise, and that's even with rates where they're at now. And again, as they trend down and ebb and flow throughout the year, the 7Ds never go away. People need a reason to put a roof over their head. Deployment, diamonds, diapers, debt, divorce. I like to say debt again after that, but we've already said it once. Downsizing and death, right? And so I've heard diplomas, I've heard some other ones, but it is it's a blessing for us to help put people in houses and foster the American dream. And I think if you don't know all the nuances to non-QM, I think there's still some room to grow there. And I think adding a technology layer across all of our channels that speed up everything and make things more efficient just allows us more time back to focus on the human aspect of what we do, which is put people in homes. And so, think of ROI in terms of time. You hear time is money. It is money, and so it does cost. You have a finite time on this planet And, if you're faced with a health challenge, it's the only thing you focus your time on. All this stuff we talk about doesn't matter. So make the best and most of what time you have left. And in 2025, work on things that give you time back and then reinvest it however you see fit. Some people are single and just want to work their ass off. Some people have 4 kids and, want to maybe make more, soccer tournaments and birthday parties. And so I would say reinvest that time, and be a time ROI person, not just a money ROI person. It's been an honor to work with all 3 of you. And of course, gosh, the Crispin commentary, they're just legendary in our business. Robbie and team doing all this work behind the scenes to get this show produced and get graphics out and push this thing out. It's been a really fun launch of this show this year. So hope to see you all in Austin at the IMB and then also in Huntington Beach for the Mortgage Innovator Conference. You guys, thank y'all so much, and let's thrive in 25.
Right on. Love it. Jodi, Christy, KP. Hope you guys have a great Christmas season. Get a little rest and recharge, and we'll be doing this thing back, running it back in January. I think first Friday in January. Yeah, so take next week off and then hit this thing hard in the new year.
Happy holidays, everyone. Be well.
Merry, happy, all the things.
See y'all.
Welcome.
Cheers.